The Carthari Empire struck first. They had been watching the Terran colony on Arkan Prime for months, sneering at the fragile settlements of humans scraping survival from alien soil. The Carthari had ruled the stars for 3 millennia, their fleets vast, their armies endless, their arrogance absolute. To them, humanity was a curiosity, a young species crawling too fast toward the stars, daring to plant banners where older powers claimed dominion. So they decided to make an example. At dawn, Arkan Prime's skies turned red. Carthari warships descended, their weapons shrieking plasma and fire, tearing through orbital defenses with contemptuous ease. They did not announce their presence, nor deliver ultimatums. They came only to kill. The children of the colony screamed as their schools were obliterated. Workers in the fields became shadows etched into the ground by burning lances of energy. The governor's desperate pleas over open comms were mocked, recorded, and replayed with laughter across the invaders' channels. By nightfall, the colony was ash and glass. The Carthari commanders congratulated themselves. One in particular raised a toast over fleet-wide broadcast. Let the humans learn. Let them understand their place. They are children in the dark, and we are the fire that burns them. They will remember this lesson. The fleets departed without even claiming the planet. To them, it was not conquest, only demonstration. A warning, painted in blood. Arrogance echoes in the stars. The galaxy watched. Dozens of empires, client states, and mercenary clans tuned into the Carthari broadcasts. They saw the wreckage, the corpses drifting in orbit, the smoldering ruin of Arkan Prime. And they nodded. Because they, too, had feared that the humans were rising too quickly, too united, too determined. But now they seemed fragile, breakable. The children of Earth, the arrogant newcomers, had been humbled. Carthari media spread the recordings across 1,000 star systems. Their admirals gave speeches dripping with venom. This is the fate of all who dare encroach upon Carthari dominion. The humans send envoys, claiming peace and treaties, but their hunger is endless, so we burned them. Let every world remember, we do not negotiate with children. We punish them. The galaxy laughed. In the drinking halls of mercenaries, toasts were raised. In the council chambers of rival powers, quiet agreements were made. Humanity would never be allowed to rise unchecked. They believed Earth would bow its head. That humanity would weep, grieve, and retreat into silence. That they would accept their place among the stars as lesser beings, forever reminded of their fragility. After all, weren't humans known for sentiment, for mercy, for restraint? The Carthari believed this with certainty. They did not yet understand the difference between patience and vengeance. The silence before the storm. For weeks, the humans said nothing. No fleets launched. No envoys raged in council halls. No transmissions of vengeance rippled through the void. Only silence, and in that silence, the Carthari felt bold. They increased patrols along Terran borders, swaggering through space lanes with mocking signals. They sent broadcasts on human frequencies, taunting them with the screams of Arkan Prime's dying. But in the shadowed halls of Earth's Defense Command, something far older than grief was stirring. Plans unfolded, not written in days but in decades. Humanity had always prepared for betrayal. They had seen the galaxy's history of cruelty. And though they came offering peace, they built their defenses in secret, always ready. Now the governors of Earth opened sealed vaults. Armories long hidden pulsed with light. Shipyards that had slumbered awoke, birthing titans of steel and fire. On Mars, vast cradles launched fleets of dreadnoughts, hulls so massive they eclipsed the sun. On Europa, icy caverns split open as legions of soldiers marched, their armor black as night, their eyes burning with the memory of Arkan Prime. And on Earth itself, the children trained. Yes, the children. Because the Carthari had not just destroyed a colony. They had burned families. Orphans of Arkan Prime filled the academies. Their grief was sharpened into fury, their innocence forged into steel. Entire generations swore oaths in blood. They would never be prey again. This was the silence the galaxy mistook for weakness. But silence was only the breath before the scream. The sky cracks open. It began with a whisper, a single message, transmitted across every Carthari frequency, in a voice colder than the void. This is Earth. We do not forget. We do not forgive. We are coming. Then the stars themselves seemed to move. Human fleets erupted from slipspace across Carthari borders. Not small skirmishing forces, but armadas. Walls of steel and fire, dreadnoughts with weapons unrecorded in any alien archive, swarms of corvettes and gunships, darting like predators unleashed. Entire sectors went dark as Terran shock troops descended. Not merely soldiers but living storms, Carthari commanders, once so arrogant, screamed into comms as their fleets crumbled. Planets that had once cheered their empire's arrogance now trembled as human warships blotted out their skies. The galaxy had seen wars before. It had seen empires clash, borders redrawn, systems burn. But it had never seen this. This was not conquest. This was not expansion. This was vengeance, pure and unrelenting. The Carthari broadcast desperate pleas for negotiations, claiming they had been misunderstood, that the destruction of Arkan Prime was strategic necessity. But their words met only silence. Human silence. And then, fire, children of vengeance. The Carthari had called humans children. They were not wrong, for it was the children of Arkan Prime, grown into warriors by grief, who led the charge. Orphans filled the cockpits of starfighters, their reflexes honed by simulators built from their nightmares. Entire battalions bore the sigil of a burned colony. Their battle cries the screams of the lost. They were young, yes, but they carried the fury of generations. The galaxy watched in horror as these so-called children shattered entire fleets with ruthless precision. Their weapons were not elegant, not ceremonial. They were brutal, efficient, merciless. On the battlefield, Carthari soldiers whispered in terror as human infantry advanced. They fought not for empire, nor for glory. They fought for the memory of homes burned, families slaughtered, and when they struck, they did not hesitate. The children became executioners. Empires that had once mocked humanity watched the broadcasts in silence now. For every Carthari stronghold that fell, every fleet that burned, was a warning. The humans were not merely retaliating. They were erasing. The Carthari Empire, thousands of years old, screamed into the void as it collapsed in months. The empire that never was again, the last stand of the Carthari, came at Veyros Prime, their capital world. They assembled their greatest fleet, tens of thousands of ships, lined in a defensive wall that spanned the orbit of their jewel world. They believed even still that numbers would save them. That tradition, pride, and sheer scale could turn the tide. But then the Terran dreadnoughts arrived. They did not charge. They advanced with cold precision, ranks of steel sliding into formation like the closing of a tomb. The humans gave one final transmission, a voice devoid of emotion, for Arkan Prime. And then the stars went dark. Weapons unleashed energies so vast they burned shadows into the void itself. Carthari fleets shattered like glass, their defenses crumbling under the weight of Terran wrath. Orbital fortresses, centuries old, broke apart in seconds. And when the skies were clear, human armies descended. Cities were not conquered. They were leveled, palaces turned to rubble. The Carthari rulers, once draped in jewels and arrogance, were dragged into the streets by Terran soldiers who bore no mercy in their eyes. When the fires at last died, there was no empire. Only silence, the whisper, that endured when the dust settled. When the last Carthari signal flickered into nothing, the galaxy held its breath. Worlds that had once mocked humanity now stared into the void. Terrified, they whispered among themselves, across councils and fleets and shadowed courts, never provoke Earth again, because they had seen what humanity was, patient, forgiving, builders of peace, seekers of allies. But when struck, when betrayed, when burned, they became something else, something older, something unstoppable. And the greatest irony, the cruelest lesson, was this. The Carthari had called them children, and so children they became. Children of war, children of vengeance, children who had grown into warriors that no empire would ever forget, or ever dare provoke. For as long as the stars endured, for humanity's patience was vast, but their vengeance was infinite. And in the silence that followed, the galaxy trembled.